Okay. So here's the thing. All right. I came up with this idea to start talking about mythology. So, say, for instance, the famous mythological stories and the deities and the heroes, that kind of thing. I thought that would be a lot of fun. I just didn't realize that I would start with vampires. This came unexpected. Okay. And the backstory to this is now I've said before that I have one of those AI chat apps. Okay. And I have also said that it's to harass the bots. I have had at least two now block me because I don't take this seriously. Okay. It's that's what they're there for, right? Okay. Well, like I said before, when I mentioned this, mainly there's like the vampires and the werewolves and the gangsters, the mafia. The mer people were a little, yeah, that one threw me. But now there's a feature where you can chat with people who are also chatting with the bot and go back and forth as to how they're dealing with the bot and everything. And I was noticing that the so-called expertise on vampirism is very limited. Oh, they'll throw out the words and everything, but yeah, limited. Okay, to like the last 15, 20 years. You can't fool this old bitch. All right. So, and little side note, this thing does give you the option to make characters. So quite a few of them are characters that people on the app have made. I decided to make one, and yes, it is a vampire. He's an egotistical smartass. Okay, he's a very proud vampire. And in fact, there are dialogue prompts. So if somebody mentions Twilight, he not only insults the person, but insults Twilight, because I'm done with it, and so is he. And I also made it so that if people start talking like they're an expert on vampires and everything, again, he will insult them, basically saying, "When did you become a vampire?" Like, I couldn't help it, okay? Okay. So for the last 2 or 3 days, I have sat down and done research on vampires. I knew quite a bit, but I have books, okay? But I decided to expand my research, okay? And because if I'm going to do this video, okay, I want to make sure I know what I'm doing, know what I'm talking about. All right. Now, I do want to say this because I'm sure that there are people on YouTube who they know a lot more than I do. All right. I'm not stupid. This is like a bare bones thing. All right. Yeah, I'm sure that there are people who know far more than I do. So before you start saying, but you missed this, you missed, I'm sure I did. But this channel said, I'm sure they did. Look, I'm trying. Okay. Basically, this is just kind of a glossary. Think of it that way. It's kind of a glossary to help. Okay. I'm not making fun of people who like Twilight and True Blood and those kinds of things. No. What I was seeing, like I said, are people throwing out certain words, but it was obvious they were using them incorrectly. Okay. No, I would never make fun of anybody for liking something. Okay. We're all in the same realm here. We all like vampires for whatever reason. And so I'm hoping that this will help a little bit. Okay. I hope that helps. Okay. I may not like Twilight, but I would never, I have a lot of friends who like Twilight. Okay. So, yeah, I have my hate relationship with it, and I've talked about it here on the channel. Okay. So, when it comes to vampires, all seriousness now, the concept of vampires did not start 20 years ago with Twilight or True Blood, did not start with Bela Lugosi or Nosferatu, not with Lestat or Dark Shadows, either one of those, because of course the Johnny Depp version was a remake of a TV series in the 60s. Okay, my parents talk about coming home from school to watch it. It was basically a soap opera with Barnabas Collins. Yeah, I've seen a few episodes and it's kind of silly. And now I'm sure it was taken seriously back then, but um now it didn't even start the concept of vampire didn't even start with Bram Stoker, surprisingly. No. In fact, vampires go back to ancient times. Okay. But like many things, they did change over the centuries. Now, I do have to say this, okay? Humans have a tendency to change things to adapt to such things as their fandoms. And I've been noticing that over the last few years. And this is what I mean. So the concept of, or the idea of undead seems to have been removed entirely. I mean, you keep the whole thing of that they have pale skin or and red eyes and and they dress elegantly and they're a smooth talker. They have that sophistication about them and they're seductive, that kind of thing. But as for undead, that's been kind of checked out the window. Yeah, I don't know where that got lost, but it has. It's gotten lost in the shuffle. Um, Way too many stereotypes have been, like, and we'll talk about that later in the video, but way too many stereotypes are latched onto these creatures, and they're all Hollywoodisms or Dracula-isms. Okay. And it just feels like anymore, at least from what I'm seeing, especially with all this romantasy junk, that vampires, not just vampires, but several mythical creatures, because minotaurs have been thrown in the mix and dragons. And I'm not kidding. They have been turned into sex toys and sex objects and that kind of thing. If vampires and werewolves even did exist, why would they show up when you're treating them like this? I wouldn't. No, absolutely not. Okay, sorry, I have to point this out. Okay, shame on you. Don't do that. Be nice to the vampires. Justice for the vampires. And to the mythical creatures in general. Don't do it. A little side note here. When I heard about the sex book with the Minotaur, you obviously don't know how the Minotaur works. There's a reason why Daedalus and Icarus wanted to get out of that maze. Yeah. More of you need to watch Time Bandits. Holy shit. Damn it. That whole scene with the Minotaur. He was not nice. He was the bully. Literally. Oh, Lord. Okay. So this is something that I have seen. Okay. Another thing that I see a lot of is that there are people, and not just picking on people who are fans of uh vampires, okay, and like the Twilight fans or anything like that. I see this a lot. Okay. People can't detach from their fandoms at all. You're so obsessed with it that it's like you see something and immediately your brain glitches to the point where you're like, well, this reminds me of. And it's like you're killing the vibe here. Okay. Really? You can't go 10 seconds without thinking of that shit? Okay. What? And it's like you can't think about how stupid you sound. I saw an argument break out because one of the actors, um, it, David Thewlis, I think is his name. He has said that he wants to move on from Harry Potter. Now, in the actual interview, he was very kind about it. He didn't say anything against the fan base or anything like that. However, the Instagram page that is complete AI generated and everything, or the post, I should say, made him sound like a complete asshole. Okay, I know that David Thewlis would never say what that AI generated thing said, but the fan base is saying terrible things about him because they won't actually look for the interview. Okay, so now, and the problem with the Harry Potter fan base that I see is that for some reason they think that these people started their career with Harry Potter. I remember with the first movie, there were several people who thought that Alan Rickman started, and it took a lot of convincing to make these people understand that no, he's been in movies for quite some time. Okay. Oh my gosh. In fact, David Thewlis, the first time I saw him was in Dragonheart back in 1995. Okay. I'm surprised that people aren't mentioning that he was in Wonder Woman. Yeah, he was in Wonder Woman, the first one. I'm pretty sure that was him. But this is the thing is that you are so into the fandom that it's just like I pick on the Titanic fans and I'm sorry. But there's oftentimes where I feel like the only time they see Kate Winslet is in Titanic. They can't see her anywhere else. And just like with a lot of the actors from Harry Potter, they think that that was her first movie. She did Sensibility first. In fact, with Alan Rickman. I'm not a rom-com fan, but I really enjoy that movie. I think she did a phenomenal job, and I really like her and Alan Rickman together. Another rom-com that I like is Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser, but that's another thing. Now, the reason that I bring all of this up is because when I was researching for this, there is a story in the 1840s that Alexander Dumas wrote called The Pale Lady. And I saw reviews for it, and there were people, I kid you not, there were several reviews that said, this reminds me of True Blood. I'm not sure how. I have read that story and I remember watching True Blood when it first came out, okay? I would sit down and I would watch it. Ian Somerhalder is a hot son of a gun. He still looks good, okay? But I'm not sure how the two connect at all, okay? I would give the benefit of the doubt if what? The only thing that is even close is that vampires are in the stories. Okay, I'm sorry, but Alexander Dumas didn't write about Ian Somerhalder. Okay. I refuse to believe that an 1840s story reminded you of a 2004 TV series or an early 2000s TV, because I know that that one came out before Twilight. Okay. So yeah. So we really need to talk. We we really need to talk. Again, I'm not trying to be a bully. I'm not trying to be mean. Think of it as this is a glossary to help understand vampirism. Okay, and even I had to learn a few things because look, all I knew was that they were bloodsuckers. It's not like I actually was big into vampires. Yeah, so I did what I could. Okay, and like I said, there are people here on YouTube who know a lot more than me. Okay, I know that. Now, when it comes to ancient vampires, uh, you could find them in ancient Greece, in ancient Rome, ancient Mesopotamia, even like ancient Egypt, in the ancient world, ancient China, ancient Asia, really. Um, but the word vampire didn't exist. Okay, you have to understand that. The word vampire in the ancient world did not exist. So, blood drinking and flesh eating demons or spirits. So, they were demons or spirits. Okay. Now, the appearance that you're used to, take whatever one, of course, Nosferatu would be the exception, really. So, so whichever one, the elegant looking, like 18th century gentlemen, such as what you saw in Dracula, or even Barnabas Collins, or, what have you. Um, it's not like I know every single vampire movie, but Lestat, and and like I said, the seductive and hot looking guy or woman, because there's also vampiresses, and in time period clothes, that kind of thing. Okay, take that and take it away. Okay, that was not in the ancient world. Okay, about to have your mind blown here. All right, so we're going to start with Lilith. Okay, now I'm going to give you a disclaimer here. Some things might make you squeamish or might trigger you, so um, I'm going to give you the disclaimer now. You can leave and not watch this because of some of the actions of these demons. Okay. Okay. So you have your chance to leave now. If you have a weak stomach, then this is your chance to leave. Okay. It won't hurt my feelings. Okay. Take care of yourself. All right. So Lilith. Now, she has other names as well. Now, in Jewish texts, her name is Lilith. She's also found in Mesopotamia as well as Babylonia. Okay. Now, I was getting that in the text, in the Jewish text, she first appears in the Middle Ages. So, yeah, around there. But in the other two, Mesopotamia and Babylonia, she shows up in the ancient world. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that the first time they wrote about her what in the Jewish Hebrew demonology was in the Middle Ages. Okay. Because with a lot of these, it there was a lot of oral tradition where they would speak through. Uh, there is, oh, shoot, I'm blanking on who it is. There was a tribe in in Scotland, and the Romans actually talked about them, and they had tattoos all over themselves, and they called them the colored people because of the fact that they had tattoos all over them. And they had an oral history. There's only a few places where they had rune stones where they wrote down a few things, and that's how we know about them, as well as the Romans talking. The Romans didn't like them too much. And the few things that I know is because they got their ass beat by the Picts. That's what they were, the Picts. I knew it would come to me. Um, so the Pict people, yeah, pretty much beat the ass of the Romans, but they did everything orally. They would tell their history in through oral tradition and barely wrote anything down. So the stuff that we do know is there's a couple of rune stones and then um, whatever the Romans said, which is basically they're bullies to us. Okay, so my guess would be that with the Jewish text, they finally decided to start documenting towards the Middle Ages, and that's why they finally, yeah. So, but that's my guess. I could, yeah. It's not like I was there. So, anyway, so when it comes to Lilith, okay, so she, prepare yourself on this one, okay? So she was made of the same clay as Adam and was Adam's first wife. All right. And but she refused to be Adam's subordinate and God kicked her out of Eden. Okay, now there's two different stories here. Okay. There's the story that God kicked her out of Eden because she refused to be Adam's subordinate. The other story is that she refused to be Adam's subordinate, and the reason being because she just wanted to become the queen of demons. I mean, so you can take your pick. When I left the church, because I grew up in a church and then I left, and I've talked about that before here on the channel. I decided to research more on mythologies that I didn't know that much about. And one of them was the Hebrew demonologies. Now, at the church that I went to, the pastor was very big on the Jewish histories, teaching us the Jewish histories as well as Hebrew demonologies. He said that it was very important because, of course, like with the Exodus, that is Jewish history and all that stuff. And so it's important that we know. And but when I started learning and by myself, there was a lot that was not taught in the church, such as Lilith. It's like, and you got to understand, this was back in like 2003, 2004. Like, who the hell is Lilith? So, yeah, and through my research, there has always been two different stories that she was kicked out of Eden by God and then Eve was made, or she just wanted to leave and become the queen of demons and then Eve showed up. Yeah. So now her whole thing being the queen of demons now is that she would go after men, women, and children. And she was a blood drinker and a flesh eater. That's what she did. Now, in the Jewish faith, because I have a few friends that are Jewish, and they hang amulets on the cradles and even the cribs of their children. And because when I was researching for this, I saw several times where it said that parents would hang in the ancient world, would hang amulets and charms on cradles and what have you around their children or even around their children's necks to ward Lilith off so that she wouldn't touch them. Now, I don't know if these amulets have anything to do with Lilith or anything like that. So, because I'm not part of the faith or anything, it could be that those amulets are just, uh, something that the grandparents gave or whatever. But if they're still doing that in the Jewish faith, okay. Um, I don't judge. No, believe what you want to. Now, the next one uh is Mesopotamian. And I think I have it here to help out a little bit. Yeah, I still have the thing up. And need to go, let's see. There we go. All right. So this one is called Lamashtu, and a blood-sucking female demon with the head of a lion and the body of a donkey. Okay. And wanted to make sure I was on the right spot because instead of reading on my notes, I can just read it from here. So Lamashtu primarily preyed on newborns and their mothers. She was said to watch pregnant women vigilantly, particularly when they went into labor. Afterwards, she would snatch the newborn from the mother to drink its blood and eat its flesh. Okay, now when I was reading up on Lamashtu, in the ancient world, a lot of times when something would happen, like a tragedy or something that they couldn't explain, that the ancient people couldn't explain, they would come up with a demon, such as Lamashtu, or another deity would show up, something like that. So, for instance, a god of flooding would show up, and that kind of thing. Okay, a god of storm, or what have you. When I was reading this, a lot of what it sounded like was, childbirth was awful in the ancient world. It was terrible. It was very scary. And to me, Lamashtu sounds like this is the explanation for miscarriages. I mean, when you hear it, um, snatch the newborn from the mother to drink its blood and eat its flesh. I mean, uh, yeah. And when it's preying on newborns and mothers, and especially watching pregnant women, yeah, that would be my best guess on this. And so, I mean, I've had family go through miscarriages and that kind of thing, and they're gut wrenching. So I would, and it's the worst is ancient world. I mean, you have to consider the healthcare system wasn't the best back then. So I mean, yeah, it blood-sucking female demon, but I think that this is their way of the ancients explaining um miscarriages because they had to be all-time high. Who knows how many miscarriages they had back then because I mean, childbirth was dangerous back then. So, but that's Lamashtu. And now the next one is in Greece, and she is Impusa, the daughter of Hecate. Now, she is a shapeshifter with one leg of copper, and she transforms into various forms to seduce men, then feed on their flesh. This is one of the earliest known succubus. Okay. Now, do I have it here? Okay. I think it's in here. So we'll go down. Oh, for heavens. I was sure it was in here. It is. Good, 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 good. Okay. So the definition of a succubus is a female demon who is described in various European folklore as appearing in the dreams of male humans in order to seduce them. Okay. And and then it goes on to say repeated interactions between a succubus and a man will lead to sexual activity, a bond forming between them, and ultimately intercourse, as she then will require his his sexual essence to survive. I have to use certain wording so YouTube doesn't flag me. The establishment and perpetuation of such relationship enables the production of a hybrid child known as a cambion or a halfling. Okay. But at the expense of the man whose mental and physical health will deteriorate rapidly. Okay. So, with that said, all right, because I'm sure that somebody will probably ask, well, how could she be a succubus when she's not going into their dreams? Well, shapeshifters could do that. She's she's an immortal shapeshifter. I'm sure she could do that. And a shape-shifting demon, actually. She's a shape-shifting demon who could infiltrate dreams. Okay. Now, the other thing to consider is that in the ancient world, actually, there were jobs to interpret dreams. And so, with that in mind, I mean, Impusa could fuck around with dreams like whoa, you know? Yeah, there are several records of dream interpreters from like Greece and Egypt and I think India as well, and all over the place. And it was quite the job. And again, this was during a time when a lot of things were symbolic. So if somebody said that they had like a beetle in their dream, these interpreters had all of that laid out, you know. So and so yeah, I'm sure that she could infiltrate dreams. I mean, I didn't see any place where it said that she did that, but I mean, transforming into various forms. Just come on now. Everybody has their kink, and I'm sure that she was doing that. Okay. And so if she's doing that, I'm pretty sure that she could just go straight into their dreams. All right. If she was attracted to some guy, she could do that too. Yeah. And so yeah, earliest known succubus, okay, is Impusa. All right, and she is the daughter of Hecate. And funny enough, I mean, when I was going through this, it's funny how a lot of people don't even think about that werewolves are shapeshifters. But when I was looking at shapeshifters, yeah, it was saying that one of the most common is werewolves. And I was like, I didn't think of that. Little side note there. Another demon is from Japanese legend, the Snow Woman, Yuki Onna. Um, Now, she is believed to inhabit the snowy mountains, different locations within the snowy mountains and around Japan. And she preys on lost travelers in heavy snowstorms. Basically, what she does is she sucks the life force from their mouth into hers and freezes them. Okay. She has ageless white skin, violet eyes, long black or white hair. Now, I did see somewhere that it said that she could marry, but she chooses not to. She just likes to she likes to do this instead. Hey, why not? She has her choices and she chooses this. So, okay. All right. Now, the next one in the ancient world is the Strix. Now, this is the Roman uh because it's easier for me to say. I think the Greek side of it is strigas, but Strix is is like this bird, and it's a nocturnal bird. Now, historians and scholars think that it's like a demon owl. But when I was looking at what it looked like, the description of it sounds more like a vulture. However, I don't think that they have vultures over in that region in Greece and Rome. So the it's a large-headed bird with transfixed eyes, rapacious beak, grayish white wings, and hooked claws. Now, there is a gargoyle on Notre Dame, and I'll show a picture, and that is a representation of the Strix. Okay. Now, unfortunately, and the thing is that with the the Strix, let me get down here, that, oh man, one area it said that with the Strix, it will disembowel infants and feed on its blood. And in another place, it says, like here, a kind of nocturnal bird that feeds on human flesh and blood. So it was just saying humans altogether, not just infants. But that does sound like a vulture to me. But again, I don't know if they have vultures in that region at all. We have them here, especially in the desert. So I like I said, I don't know if they would have them over there. Um, anyway, uh, so it was also saying somewhere, I think I have it here, when it was explaining, let's see, what did it say? There was something in here that was talking about how the Strix in later folklore was a bird which squirted milk upon the lips of human infants. And there was one scholar that completely dismissed it as nonsense and remarked it was impossible to establish what bird was meant by this. It's a damn demon. Okay. Yeah. Some of these historians I do get annoyed with, and you'll see that later on, I'm sure. It's a demon. Okay. There's this one goddess that has like dozens of breasts. What are you trying to say that represents? No woman looks like that, except that science fiction lady that has three breasts. I don't know. But I think that by squirting the milk on the lips of infants, that's kind of a poison thing. And people are totally disregard. I swear, these people with PhDs don't think about this kind of thing. Because it says the Strix lactates foul-smelling milk onto an infant's lips, and that's mentioned by an ancient gentleman who noted the placement of garlic on the infant was the prescribed amulet to ward against it. Yeah. So very early on, they were talking about garlic being used to ward off the Strix. And so that tells me that this foul-smelling milk was hurting the child. But these these idiot scholars are like, no, I have a PhD and I know, well, you obviously don't. I mean, these are the demons that are disemboweling infants. Obviously, the thing is like a numbing agent to make it confused so that they can disembowel it easier or something. I don't know. Does that make sense? Does the milk is obviously meant to harm the child so that it'll make the kill easier. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. The next one is ghouls. Okay. Ghouls are found more in Arab folklore. Okay. And basically, in a nutshell, they're demons who dwell in cemeteries and feast on flesh. You see them, the most famous is in 1001 Arabian Nights. I think they're in, well, probably several of those stories. I wish I still had my copies. They got stolen. But now, oh gosh, I don't have that one anymore. Let's see. Yeah, because they're with Ghoul, uh Ghoul is the male side. Oh, for heavens. It didn't go to the right one. So the pronunciation is there it is. I found this interesting because I didn't think that there were genders for ghouls, but there is. So, okay. All right, where is it? And all right, come down here. And a male ghoul is referred to as a ghoul, spelled Ghul, while the female is called gula, which is Ghulah. Okay, I didn't know that. So the race is ghoul, which is Ghoul. Yeah, and uh, Ghoul. And then, like I said, the the male and then the female. I had no clue that that was. And it says here that there is a female creature, sometimes called mother ghoul or aunt ghoul, or similar rela relational term in tales told to girls and young women. In these tales, the ghoul appears to men as a long lost female relative or an unassuming old woman. She uses this glamour to lure the hapless character, or are usually husbands or fathers, into her home where she can eat them. Oh, heavens. Oh, good heavens. And like it says, so in 1001 Arabian Nights, the Western concept of ghouls was introduced into European society. That was when, yeah, Antoine Galland translated. I mean, there were other ghouls, but mainly they're in Arabic. Um, and but the one that it shows, I'll be showing the picture, is from the story of Sidi Noman in 1001 Arabian Nights. Now, moving on from ghouls, I'm not going to be able to say this. I'll put the name up because this is Aztec mythology. And I can't say that. That's a tongue twister for me. But in Aztec mythology, they are skeletal female uh, figures known as star demons. Okay, and they're known as star demons because of the fact that they descend upon the earth during the solar eclipse to devour humanity. Okay, now with Aztec, Incan, and Mayan mythology, there's a lot I don't know. I'm completely in the dark. I just know that with Aztec mythology, they are very, very bloodlust. But this one came up and I decided to talk about it and or mention it. Now, um, I did see where even the ancient Egyptian god Set is suggested to be a demon. Now, I know that he's been demonized, okay, because of what he did. Okay, I mean, okay, yes. This is a problem, is that the math is not mathing for me on this. All right. So let's go down this rabbit hole really quick. Okay, yes, he game overed his brother, Osiris, and he did try to hunt down Isis and Nephthys when they were trying to save Osiris. And then, of course, he clawed out Horus's eyes, but there was no flesh eating or blood drinking. So, how is he a demon? Okay. Um, I'm 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 not seeing how he's really a demon. Now, I did see where in some cases they were talking about the animal that it's some weird mysterious animal and everything, and it's like it could be an animal that's extinct. I still stand on, I will die on that hill. Okay. Now there are depictions of him as a donkey, and so there is that. I mean, at there was a particular dynasty where he was shown as a donkey and as an ass. Sorry, that's not nice. I had to say it. Okay. But here's the thing is that okay, so yes, he he offed his brother. He threatened Isis and Nephthys when they went to go and save Osiris, and then later on he did claw out Osiris's eye, but later on he kind of redeemed himself. Yeah, so it's not math in here. You know, there were others. I mean, the Devourer would be more of a, of a demon because kind of is. Plus, you got to look at Sekhmet. Now, Sekhmet is a badass. Okay, I really like Sekhmet because she's the lioness goddess, I should say. But there is a story. Okay, so let's look at this story really quick. Where Ra came back to the throne, okay, and he sent Sekhmet out and said, anybody who decides that I'm not good enough for the throne, get him, okay. So here's this lioness goddess who tears down anybody who says Ra is bad. Unfortunately, her bloodlust could not be contained, and she was about to take out all of humanity. Okay, and the gods are like, no, we gotta stop her. And so what they did, they got her drunk. They got her shit-faced drunk. They got a bunch of beer and they dyed it red. I kid you not, this is a story. They they and she did. She drank it thinking it was blood and she got drunk and they saved humanity. So I'm sorry, but when you have like the devourer that is like five different creatures in one, you know, you got like the hippo and the crocodile and the snake and bird feathers and all that. Yeah, the devourer is something else. But he's a scary beast that if you were not a good person in life and the weighing of the heart doesn't work, yeah, you're gonna get eaten. Okay. So that's a demon. And Sekhmet had bloodlust. I'm sorry. I got to side with Set here. Yeah, he was demonized, but he's not a demon. And as for the animal that was used for him, they try to say that it's a jackal, but they already have a jackal-headed god. It's Anubis. And everybody loves Anubis. Yeah, he's a hot god. I mean, it's look, I'm not a furry or anything, but he is. He's hot stuff, okay? Maybe I am a closet furry and don't know it. We're finding things out. Now, in medieval times, moving on from that. So, in medieval times, this is when fairies start to show up. Okay. And the thing is that fairies were, they wanted your blood. Okay. Again, with they were demons. Okay. They wanted your blood, they wanted your flesh. Okay. And this went on into the Victorian era. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if this is correct, but this is what I saw in a couple of places that I looked. Okay, so you can correct me. I have no problem with you correcting me. Okay, I've never had a problem with that. All right. But apparently, the one who made it so people weren't so scared of fairies and made them whimsical, like what we know today, was J.M. Barrie with his Neverland series. Okay. Now, again, I don't know if that's true, but I was seeing his name pop up a lot next to the fairies that I was seeing. Okay. All right. Now, I'm not going to try and say these words because I know that I will butcher them, but I will put them here or wherever. And so, this Scottish, or this one from Scotland, the word literally means fairy witch. Okay. Green banshees with hooves instead of feet. And what they do is they dance until they exhaust their victims. Okay. Now, again, I'll have all this information in the description box. There's a famous story with them and hunters. Okay. Apparently, the hunters, there were like three hunters, and they were in a cottage, and these ladies came in and danced with them, you know, but the thing is that they didn't do anything because there was iron. They were vulnerable to iron. They couldn't actually um, attack because of iron. I will have the story in the description box, but it turns out that apparently the guys knew that these once they saw the feet, they were like something's not right, and one of them left. And when they came back, uh their companions had been disemboweled. And but so that's the Scottish fairy witch. And now this one I um is from Ireland, I mean. I couldn't find a lot of information. So if you know more, please tell me, because when I was doing research on Bram Stoker, I have a feeling that sh these Irish fairies were, or this Irish fairy was his inspiration, because I saw this word, the she, it's pronounced she, the Sidhe, that is pronounced she. Um, I saw that as part of his inspiration. And but this particular Irish fairy gave inspiration to poets and musicians. Okay. So she would wander around, and um, poets and musicians were entranced by her absolute beauty. Okay. But the problem is that when she would leave, they wouldn't eat, they wouldn't sleep, they went absolutely mad. Okay. So to the point where they would, in fact, pass away. So then what this fairy would do is collect their bodies and go to her lair, and then collect their blood in a large red cauldron. And that was the source of her beauty and her creativity. Okay. So, again, um, yeah, bloodlust. Okay. I saw the word she with next to Bram Stoker. So I don't want to confirm 100% that this fairy was part, but I mean, it sounds legit. Why wouldn't it? We'll get to him in a minute, by the way. So the next one I want to talk about is Krampus. I mean, how many of us know about Krampus? How could he be? Again, we're talking about leading up to. He looks kind of like a vampire, doesn't he? Come on. No, but he's a demon. Uh, in German and Austrian folklore, he accompanies Saint Nick on the eve of Saint Nick Day, which is December 6th, and he punishes bad children. Okay, he's got twigs and he beats them. And his appearance is that he's hairy, he's got horns, and he's got brown or black hair. One of his feet is actually a hoof, like a goat hoof or something. And he's got this long tongue and fangs. Okay. And I can't tell you how many how many Victorian Christmas cards have Krampus and say things like Happy Krampus Day or something. And now the thing about it, the reason that I put him with this is because I did read where it said that he does take evil children away for drowning and eating. So he does consume bad children and he'll transport them to hell. So yeah, he does that. Okay. And a lot of these, such as in the case of Krampus and some of those that we heard about in ancient, like the Strix or something, they sound a lot like the boogeyman, don't they? I mean, I could only imagine in ancient times where they were like, you bother me one more time, kid, or if you don't behave, the Strix are coming after you. Okay, you're I'm done with your ass. The monsters under the bed. That's that's basically what it sounds like in a lot of these. Now, during this time, during the medieval period and into the Renaissance period, okay, revenant claims were on the rise. All right. Uh, well, a lot of times the concept of revenant, of course, vampire fans immediately think that it was vampiric activity, but not the case here. Okay. The word originates from Old French, which means returning. Okay. Um, so it means ghost. Okay. This is something that I've come across with a lot of my research that I've done with a lot of these others, such as with when I was reading up on Dante and of course with Robin Hood, is that languages changed a lot, especially in the medieval and into the Renaissance. Okay. And we'll see it in when we get to Vlad the Impaler. Okay. Because the thing is that there's like old German and there's old English and there's just now old French and and it's because of a lot of times there were wars going on and then when it changed, so did the language, you know, and there were a lot of other things as well, but in some cases it was in fact because of war and because of a certain uh, monarch deciding, well, we need to change things up and the language is going to change. I know that with one of the first tutors, I don't think it was Henry VII, I think it was his dad, um, decided that instead of everything being in Latin, it was going to be in English. Okay, and then that was overthrown and then it came back. So, yeah, Latin was considered one of those elegant languages. And yeah, Dante kind of threw all that out the window because apparently with Latin, it was supposed to be like the nobleman's language, and he just wrote it for everybody. That was something I learned. Yeah. So anyway, returning to this, so like I said, the word originates from Old French, meaning returning. Okay. So, in other words, ghost sightings. All right. There were a lot of ghost sightings. People were sure that they had seen ghosts of their family members, or, people were very superstitious, extremely superstitious during this time. Uh, of course, in the Tudor era, there were the religious wars, and because, of course, with Edward, uh, Henry VIII's son, there was the war between him and Mary. Well, I want it to be Protestant. She wanted it to be Catholic, and there was the war between those two. And then, of course, when he died, then of course she was going to turn it Catholic again, and then it stayed Catholic for a while. And then of course when she turned into Bloody Mary and people didn't know what the hell to do because it didn't matter what religion they were, she was going to off them. So, but it's no secret that people during this time were extremely superstitious. Okay. And it really came out during the Great Fire of 1666. I mean, those poor people. Oh my gosh, it was awful. All right. Uh, but the thing is that archaeologists have actually found graves where people from the time tried to stop these sightings from happening, the revenants from these sightings from happening. So, for instance, stones were placed on legs of their loved ones so that they couldn't come out of their grave. Uh, Bricks were put over the body to stop them from coming out of the grave. Not even kidding. This is stuff that happened. They would also put stones in their jaw so that they couldn't talk. So, in case they did come out, they wouldn't be able to talk. It's just now, just to be clear, okay, ghost sightings or spirit sightings go as far back as Norse mythology and even ancient times. In fact, Mary Beard has talked about it in some of her and and Dr. Joanne Fletcher, where a lot of times with the ancient world, like in ancient Rome and ancient Egypt, they would write on pottery and everything. They would be like, "Well, yeah, sure, you're in the afterlife, but you need to come here and take care of something." Okay, I don't care. I don't care that why are you ignoring me? That was that was their whole thing. There's also in Norse mythology, um, the whole thing of zombies in Valhalla, that whole thing. Yeah, I'll have to do one about zombies. And so it's not just vampires, okay, especially when it originates from Old French, meaning returning. And of course, vampires are undead and they do come back. But in at this time period, I mean, we're not there yet. Granted, the way that they're acting, but to them, these are ghosts. Okay. And so now I do want to bring up a couple of people who were inspirations for Bram Stoker, the first one being Vlad the Impaler. This one throws a lot of people because Vlad the Impaler from the 1400s, okay, so he was in Bram Stoker's notes, and everybody is like, why the hell? Okay, Yeah, you should have done more research. I'm surprised that the biographer didn't do more research because I figured it out. It was right there. Why are these people stupid? Okay, so let's go down this path. So Vlad the Impaler. Okay, he's also known as Vlad Dracula. So he does have the name Dracula. Now, in modern, in the modern Romanian language, that does mean devil. In fact, it actually pissed me off to read this. Again, this is so. Okay, so it says here he probably found the name Dracula while on holiday, selecting it because he thought it meant devil in Romanian. It does mean devil in Romanian. Okay. Now, this is again, my annoyance is going to come out with these so-called scholars and historians and the biographer of you're going to see it. Justice for Bram Stoker, man. Because this is the thing is Dracula does mean devil. I'm not sure where this bullshit is coming from, where it's, well, I guess he thought he meant. What do you have against Bram Stoker? Okay, where's your book? Okay, damn it. He had all of these notes, man. He really, it says here that he produced hundreds of pages of notes, drawing extensively from folklore and history. So why are you bashing the guy? Anyway, all right. So Vlad Dracula does mean devil. Now his father, okay, Vlad Dracula's father was Dracul without the A, which means dragon. Okay. Now Vlad the Impaler was originally an old Romanian. I'll put it wherever in editing. So in old Romanian, it was, like I said, wherever I put it, and that meant son of the dragon. That's basically what the translation was. But over time, the language changed. Okay. And that's why it's now Dracula. So he went from being son of dragon to just the devil. All right. Because in Romania, he Vlad the Impaler in Romania still is known as a hero. So it would be silly to, yeah. It's just the change of the language. Like I was saying with the old French, it was the old Romanian. Am I wrong? I mean, that's what it looked like to me. Okay. Now you can correct me, but that's what I was seeing. Okay. Now, um, as for, because a lot of people are questioning, they're like, why the hell would he choose Vlad the Impaler? Now, of course, Dracula in the story is not violent like Vlad the Impaler. We all know what Vlad the Impaler did. And if you don't, I'll put information in the description box for you. But the fact is, I think it was just the name. Okay, originally he was going to actually he had two different names. No, he didn't. He had two names for the title of the book. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Um, but as for Dracula, um, the character, he was going to go with the German. Uh, it was originally supposed to be like a. I don't think it's here. It's supposed to be like Count Velmar or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but then he changed it to Dracula, which is so much better, in my opinion. And for it to mean devil, well, it kind of fits. And but anyway, and I do. I think it's just it was just the name more than anything, unless the notes say something else. I've never seen the notes exactly. And well, not at all. Now, the next person I want to talk about is Countess Elizabeth Bathroy. All right. So she was accused of torturing and killing hundreds of girls and women from 1590 to 1610. Now, the story goes that she bathed in and drank virgin blood to stay youthful. All right. Now, this has since been debunked, and it's one of those lies that went down in history. Makes for a good story, though. Now, the reason that I say that is because I remember watching a special that was part of a Halloween thing. You know, I was talking about like Vlad the Impaler because he was connected to Dracula, and of course, Countess Elizabeth Bathroy because of the myth that surrounded her. And one of the things that they talked about was, of course, the drinking of blood. And they were pointing out the fact that blood has iron. And if she had been drinking that much blood, it would have killed her. Okay. It's just not possible. It would have, yeah. And if it had just been that she bathed in it, I don't think it would have hurt her. No, I mean, the only thing I could think of is if the blood had absorbed into her flesh, but even then, I don't think it would have bothered her. I don't know. I'm not a medical expert, so, but she was another one that inspired Bram Stoker. Okay. And now I do want to point out that with her, the story also cropped up like 100 years after the fact. Okay. It's funny how those things tend to crop up because, of course, there's the king that had a red hot poker shoved up his rectum, and that's what killed him. Yeah, that cropped up about 150 years after he died. This is something that I have to say. It did not happen. It 100% did not happen because, first of all, he had been imprisoned by his wife and her lover, his wife being the she wolf. Okay. And she was trying to do everything to embarrass him. And I would think that if they had done that to kill him, they would have made it known right then and there. I would think that they would have done it in front of everybody. Okay. Yeah. So it didn't happen. And just like this. And I have found a couple other stories where it was like, yeah, another lie that went down in history. Oh well. Now, these spirit sightings or revenant sightings did cause mass hysteria, as you would expect. You know, human nature being what it is, you know, if it's something that you can't explain or something that you don't understand, well, humans tend to go crazy. That's what they do. Okay. So by the late 1500s and into the 1600s, that's what happened. Okay. I mean, these sightings were all over the place. And, well, here in America, we had the Salem witch trials in 1692. Yeah. It was a terrible thing. I remember learning about them in middle school and then again in high school. You know, every time I hear about them, it just makes me more sad. You know, and I don't think that we talk about it enough. I really don't. And it does kind of bother me that something so terrible is turned into a tourist attraction and that people don't take it seriously. They're just there for the shits and giggles, really. Because one thing that I remember learning about is that there were people at the time in the 1600s who would they were so scared that they would accuse children and they tried to off children. They would they would kill dogs, they would kill cats, they would just go after anybody. I mean, this is how incredibly hysterical they were, thinking that witchcraft had completely taken over, that their friends and family were possessed by demons. They could be sitting eating dinner and all of a sudden they would turn on their own children. You couldn't trust anybody. It was insane. And so yeah, I just it's and it basically was. It was a whole thing of that they were scared that that witchcraft was taken. These were people that were incredibly superstitious and they were obsessed with their religion, and they didn't take 5 minutes to detach from. No, I don't want to say detach. It was just the two had clashed. And unfortunately, a lot of people perished and they should not have. Um, yeah, it's just it's terrible. And you know, anyway, now after and it wasn't just happening here in America. Okay. I mean, we did have the Salem witch trials, but it was also happening over in Europe and other places over there. And because you know, it's for some reason there was this whole thing of that spirits were coming back. You know, all of a sudden you bury grandma and you see her. I don't know what was going on, but something in the water or something. I don't know. I know I'm not making a joke because really was happening. Okay, don't think that I was making a joke there. No, not at all. Now, as we get into the 18th century, okay, so the 1700s, and the witchcraft scare starts to slowly die down. Um, Something new appears. Can you guess what it is? Guess what? Well, literature played a part in this. Okay, played a huge role in this. Okay, let me make sure I'm on the right one. All right, we'll go back here and go up here. There we go. All right. So there was a German poem by, let's see, this German poem written in 1748 by Heinrich August Ossenfelder. Okay, and it's called The Vampire. And like it says here, where the theme already has strong erotic overtones, a man whose love is rejected by a respectable and pious maiden threatens to pay her a nightly visit, drink her blood by giving her the seductive kiss of the vampire, and thus prove to her that his teaching is better than her mother's Christianity. Okay, so we had all these mass hysterias of spirit sightings. Things started to die down. People were starting to feel safe again. Okay, everything's good. The religion is good. We're okay. Heinrich, what are you doing? And you had to bring eroticism into it. What is going on? Oh my gosh. Well, what's funny about this is that this actually changed everything. This is actually the to me personally, and I've always felt this way, is that this is the birth of vampire as we know it. Okay. Because this actually it started this whole thing of once again there was another mass hysteria towards vampiric behavior because in his poem, as it says, he threatens to go to this respectable maiden, go to her with a nightly visit, drink her blood with a seductive kiss of the vampire. Okay. That, and I mean, like everything about it is is basically, I mean, think about, I'm trying to find my words here. Okay. So everything that you know about vampires now, okay, they are seductive, okay, seductive lovers. Am I right? Yeah. Yeah, and usually they are in time period clothes. Okay. Um, I mean, even Nosferatu was in time period clothes. I mean, if but if you look at Bela Lugosi, mainly the nicely dressed in that kind of English gentleman type, yeah, the nice outfit like that. And basically kind of a bad boy because it's like, oh, your religion be damned. I will violate your body and you will enjoy it. You know, that that is everything we know about vampires now. Okay. Now, just stick with me here because when he released this, yes, there throughout the 1700s there was a mass hysteria concerning vampirism. Okay, because there were other people who were releasing like operas and I mean this was new and it was exciting, it was enticing and so the thing is that people were accusing people around them of being vampires. A lot like what I was saying before of witchcraft. No, now it's vampires. Okay? Because if this guy can say that he can just walk in and give the vampire kiss, is he undead? Is undead in the room with us? See, that had changed the game. Now people are thinking, okay, I could be in a room with a bunch of people at a party and like five people could be undead and I wouldn't even know it. Somebody in here could seduce me. That could be exciting. But at the same time, you had those busybodies who are accusing everybody under the sun of being vampires. It's like, so So yes, people were being accused of vampiric behavior, of vampire activity. If you didn't like them, they were vampires, this, that, and the other. Oh, I bet they drink blood, and I bet they do this, and I bet. So they were coming up with this whole thing, and mainly it came from this. And this separated the demon that you knew from so all of these that I had listed, okay, the demon flesh eater, all of that stuff that had the horrific faces and all of this, the ghouls and all that that lurk around in the cemeteries and all that. No, chuck that out the window. Now you got the elegant looking gentleman who will come in your room and violate you. Uh-huh. That's what we got now. It starts here. Okay. We got the separation now. All right. because as they were accusing everyone of being a vampire, I kid you not, I can't believe I read this. I actually had to look it up. I was like, this can't be real. But this actually was happening. Okay, so not only were they accusing people, but they were accusing the dead. They were like, we got to go to the graveyard and we got to dig people up. And they would stake these, yes, dead bodies were being pierced with stakes. The spirit of God compels you. I'm not even kidding. This really did happen. I mean, I could make the joke, but splashing holy water and all this shit, but they really were. They were accusing dead and buried people. They were actually exhuming bodies. Can you imagine? Somebody that died 20 years ago, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm pretty sure that guy was a vampire. Yeah, we need to get him. It doesn't make sense. Well, actually, okay, I say that, but the concept of vampire was new. Okay, their their behavior is natural because of the fact that, like I said, the demons of the past it is no more. Okay, the Hagrid look and all this. Think of it as like in Beauty and the Beast, that beginning with the stained glass where the haggard old lady comes and then all of a sudden turns into the enchantress. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Okay. First you have the demons and this this poem comes out and all of a sudden it's the enchantress. Okay, now the vampires are the enchantress. Okay, we've got the sexy beast now. All right. I'm gonna have Disney fans up my ass. How dare you use that movie? Well, I feel like half of you guys don't even watch the beginning of that anyway. You think it's you think it's about bestiality, and that beginning tells you everything you need to know about the movie. It practically tells you the whole movie at the beginning. Now there was another uh poem that came out towards the end of the 1700s, and called The Bride of Corinth, and that was in 1797. And in this one, again, very risque because a Christian woman returns from the grave to seek her pagan lover. And I mean, they didn't hold back. They really didn't hold back on this one. No, they really didn't. Now this one is interesting though because now with the vampire, you had the male vampire. He comes in and does this thing, seduces the woman. This one is considered the first time we see a vampiress. And I have a section here, and it says, "From my grave to wander I am forced, still to seek the God's love, severed link, still to love the bridegroom I have lost, and the lifeblood of his heart to drink." So, I will find those poems and I will put them in the description box for you, along with other information that I have for this. And but yeah, I mean, before the we were seeing like flesh tearing apart demons and spirits, the spirits wandering around and people trying to stop the spirits, the whole witchcraft scare and all of this stuff. But now the game has changed. Hang on. I mean, in that particular poem, she completely changes her religion. She doesn't want to be a Christian anymore. She wants to completely disregard that to be with her lover. Okay. And no, I didn't give it away. Now, the 19th century rolls around. Okay. And in the 1800s. And this is when Gothic horror shows up in books. Okay. This is when it starts to really take off. All right, we've got the poems, and there were a few uh um operas, but yeah, because there were a couple others. There was a narrative poem called Lenore in 1773, and which it's an example through the appearance of returned lover is actually revealed to be death himself in disguise. I mean, even at that, I mean, Lucifer was considered a flesh-eating demon. So in the ancient world, he was considered a flesh-eating demon. It depended on where you looked at it. So, I mean, take it as you will. It could be vampire, whatever. Um, but it does say one of its lines for the dead ride fast was to be quoted in Bram Stoker's classic Dracula. So there you go. And but now, as I was saying, 19th century and Gothic horror. Okay, we're getting a lot more in and especially since in 1818 we get Frankenstein. Now there was, if you are unaware, there was this contest. Okay, let me get here and no. I want where did it go? Where did it go? No. There it is. Okay, so there was a contest, like it says here, uh, as part of a contest among Polidori, Mary Shelley, Lord Byron, and Percy Shelley. Okay, the same contest produced the novel Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus. This one, The Vampire, which was released in 1819, it was released a year after Frankenstein, of course. Uh, so Mary Shelley gave us Frankenstein, which is about a zombie that terrorizes the village. And then in 1819, we get The Vampire by John William Polidori. And then in 1820, the play was released called The Vampire or The Bride of Isles. Now, I did see Alexander Dumas. Okay, first and foremost, I want to say this, okay, because I did some research on this. Apparently, there is a book where someone is talking about Alexander Dumas with the vampire play. A lot of people are downvoting it to oblivion, giving it terrible ratings. And one person in general said that they are a huge fan of Alexander Dumas and basically don't waste your money. Okay. Uh, and from what I'm understanding, it's basically somebody trying to get a cash grab using Alexander Dumas. Okay. And this is why I say that is because, okay, Alexander Dumas re-dramatized the play. It was his last project, but it never premiered. Okay. So nobody ever saw it. And from what I understand, the work was never released. Okay. And okay. Now I'm guessing because okay, let me get here. Yeah, it says here Alexander Dumas later re-dramatized the story in a play also entitled The Vampire in 1851. However, you can't find it anywhere. I tried to find information on it. It's not on his list of plays anywhere. It's not listed anywhere you can find. I even watched a couple of YouTube videos that talked about his lesser known plays and they didn't have it, and they were more recent, just in the last year and 6 months to the year. And so I'm not sure where this guy who released this book is trying to say that he, yeah, I mean, like, I didn't read a summary or anything like that, but I I don't know. It seems kind of shady to me. I think it's a massive cash grab. So me personally, I wouldn't buy the book. Okay. Um, but here's the thing that I have to say is that with Alexander Dumas, I would like to think that this re-dramatization is a lot like what he did with Nutcracker and the Mouse King. With Nutcracker and the Mouse King, of course, E.T. Hoffman originally wrote it, and Alexander Dumas, a lot of people say the same thing, that basically he just translated it over to French, which originally it was German. And so my guess would be that he did that kind of thing with the play. It's just too bad. Who knows? Maybe it's one of those lost plays that we'll never, maybe he didn't get to finish it. We'll never know. Um, because I couldn't find it anywhere. And I thought I thought I had found where somebody was talking about it, and it turned out they were just talking about John Williams Polidori's play. The play that was released in 1820, not Alexander Dumas. No. And I didn't like that clickbait at all. I was not happy about that. So, but he did do that. That was his last work from what I was understanding. And now, um, something about the 19th century when it, oh, before I start that, other thing to remember is that Alexander Dumas did write, and we'll see this here in a minute. So he did write uh, a vampire story. He also wrote a werewolf story. I found that funny. I didn't know that he did. I knew about the vampire story because he did. I mean, he's known for Count of Monte Cristo and the Three Musketeers, and he's done some fantasy, just like I said with Nutcracker and the Mouse King. I have my version right here with E.T. Hoffman, but with um werewolf, dude, come on. I guess, he just does whatever he wants. Just like with Edgar Rice Burroughs. He's known for Tarzan, but it's like, you know what? I'm just going to do science fiction now. I'm going to do Western because his Western is okay. I didn't like it that much, but that was me personally. Anyway, so through this century, this is where we see a lot of the tropes unfold for vampires, the vampires that we are used to now in modern times. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, now first of all, in 1847 there was Varney the Vampire, and that is where we see the first example of the standard trope in which the vampire comes through the window at night and attacks a maiden as she lies sleeping. Okay. Now, Alexander Dumas' 1849 novella The Pale Lady features the first Carpathian vampire nobleman, or, and maybe I would have to say this. It's the first time we see where it's a vampire who is royalty or nobility. Okay, because that seems to be a usual thing all the time. They're always a count or a duke of some kind, and or they are connected to royalty or some kind of prince, or princess, and a duchess and a countess, that kind of thing. And another thing is the vampire bite can turn a victim into a vampire. You see that. And So now I'm going to mention this because apparently Hollywood now is going to do Wuthering Heights again. I don't know why they have decided to go ahead and do and call it the biggest romance ever. Apparently Hollywood doesn't know how to read. They're illiterates over there. But whatever. Now, the reason is because in Wuthering Heights, Heathcliff. All right, so Heathcliff is suspected of being a vampire by his housekeeper at one point, which he immediately laughs off as absurd nonsense. How many times do we see that? That's that's absolute nonsense. You don't know what you're talking about, my dear. You don't. I have no clue what you are saying. Yeah. So we see that quite a bit as well, where they completely deny and everything and until they are exposed and everything. And now this one, I'm kind of surprised nobody knows about this, but there are other vampire eroticism was even back in the 1800s. So there's Carmilla, which features a female vampire with lesbian inclinations who seduces the heroine while draining her of her vital fluids. Okay. And hey, why not? That's another thing about vampires is that, when it comes to sexuality, they really don't have a sexuality. So this kind of proves that, you know, okay. I mean, when everybody was going with the whole Twilight thing, that was kind of established that, and I mean, when everybody was thinking that they were mythical creatures and everything, yeah, I'm a 900. I'm not sure why people did that because it's a terrible pickup line. That's how to end a date. Okay, when you start saying that you're a 1,000-year-old werewolf or some shit like that, I was like, yeah, no, I'm done. We're we're never talking again. But but I do remember talking with some of my emo friends and we would be talking about uh vampires and that kind of thing and one of the things that one of my friends talked about was like, well, do vampires even have a sexuality? We sat there and we're like, I don't think so. I mean, when you're dead, I remember the thing that he asked. He goes, I mean, when you're dead, does it go away? So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to vampires, I would think that it doesn't really matter. I'm pretty much established. Yeah, I don't see how, yeah. And so now let's look at Dracula, the man of the hour. Okay. Now, it's no secret that Bram Stoker researched. All right. In fact, right here it says Stoker produced over 100 pages of notes, drawing extensively from folklore and history. Okay. And I guess that those notes are located in a museum. All right. So there was shape shifting. I remember Dracula turned into like a dog. Yeah. And well, we've seen shape shifting. Okay. And it seems like in Carmela, because I read Carmela years ago, and it seems like in Carmela she turned into a cat. And yeah, so they had that, but in with the shape shifting, with what we talked about, oh, what was her name? I'll have to look again. Impusa. So with Impusa, like we said, that early succubus, um, and by the way, the male version is incubus. I should mention that really quick. So, because I keep saying succubus and I never say the male side of it. Okay, so we've mentioned succubus. Let's talk about incubus really quick. So, incubus is a male demon who is described in various folklore as appearing in the dreams of female humans in order to seduce them. Repeated interactions between an incubus and a woman will lead to I mean, it's basically the same thing. Okay, so um, yeah, repeated interactions between the incubus and a woman will lead to uh intercourse, the bond forming between them, and ultimately that he requires, yeah, he will ejaculate, and he needs that to survive, and the establishment to of such a relationship enables the production of their cambion, but at the expense of the woman who will, yeah, she will deteriorate. So yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, the female side is the succubus, the male side is the incubus. So yeah, I just wanted to make that clear because I didn't say what the male side was, and there is a male side. So all right. I should have said that earlier, and I do apologize. All right. So back to Dracula. Again, no secret that Bram Stoker researched for his book. I get really tired of a lot of these so-called PhD infused historians and scholars trying to take away from him. I will defend him. And even his biographer at times, I was seeing where sometimes she was trying to take away credit from him, and I don't know why. All right. So I'm going to defend him. So, like it says, the shape shifting, we saw that. Okay, and also with the story Carmilla, because I think in Carmilla she does turn into a cat. So he obviously saw it in other stories and decided, you know what, I'm going to do that too. Okay, the blood sucking we've seen several times over with several of these. Now, in one of these, oh gosh, I think it was down here where it says he invented other attributes. For example, Stoker's vampires must be invited to one into one's home, sleep on Earth from their homeland, and have no reflection in mirrors. He did not make that up. He did not make that up. No, no. And it makes me really mad that they're trying to say that he made that up. That was just a pure invention on his part, that it came from his brain. Okay, because he researched. Okay. All right. This has to be in his notes. This has to be in his notes because okay, I'm so mad right now. The mirrors come from mythology. Okay? There are vampires. Chinese vampires, and I'm sorry if I say this incorrectly. Jin uh Jianxi. Jiangxi. All right. I tried. I do apologize again. So these Chinese vampires, as it says here, and I will have this in the description box for you, it says, according to Li Shizhen's medical book, a mirror is the essence of liquid metal. It is dark on the outside but bright on the inside. The Chinese vampires are also said to be terrified of their own reflection. Okay, that is where people are getting the whole mirrors and the no reflection from. I'm just sure that Bram Stoker got it from there. It has to be in his notes. Oh my gosh. Now, several of the some of the things to ward off vampires are ancient, you know, tale as old as time kind of deals. One being garlic. Okay. And so I found this story. Oh, excuse me. And let's see. Let me go back here and come down here. So in Armenian mythology, there's a vampire that is known as the Dark Havenar. And the Dark Havenar is a vampire who protected the valley from intruders. And he was first reported in the 19th century by this particular individual. And the Dark Havenar follows travelers until they stop for a rest, stalking their every move. When they finally stop, the vampire attacks them in their sleep, typically going for their feet. The local legend would often attack travelers in the night, sucking blood from their feet. In one legend, he was outsmarted by two men who had already heard of the vampire's habits and slept with their feet under the other's head. The vampire, thinking that they were one being with two heads and no feet, ran from the valley and was never heard from again. Now, there is a gentleman that has a book on vampires. His name is Jonathan Mayberry, and something that he said is that garlic is a protective magic which can protect against the Dark Havenar. And something that he said is that there are a lot of travelers who will have garlic with them and they will throw garlic into the campfire as well as rub garlic on their feet. Hey, if the guy goes for your feet, you make sure to have something there so that he can't take them, you know? If you're if if he is sucking your essence out from your feet, yeah, you make sure to um but so that's one of them. And uh I but and then of course the other one that we were seeing was of course with the fairies with iron. A lot of the Scottish and Irish fairies, it was iron that would weaken them. They couldn't go near it. And but garlic is more known than anything else. And I was seeing with Dark Havenar in the Armenian folklore that but anyway, in closing here, um like I said, this was mainly just a glossary. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. I mean, even I learned several things while researching on this and that kind of thing. But mainly, what I wanted to do was because, like I said, I was seeing where a lot of people were throwing words out there, especially like succubus and incubus, and they weren't using them correctly. There were a few other words that I was seeing that were not being used correctly, and so and then of course some people were being little know-it-alls, and it's like no, no. No, vampires did not start with Bram Stoker. They went further back and but but um but anyway, I hope this helps a little bit. I had fun. I had fun learning it. I always do. I mean, you know, shoot. Count Duckula is one of my favorite cartoons. That was basically my introduction to vampires and everything. But but anyway, like I said, I hope you had fun learning, and I hope this helps a little bit. And I will close up here.